My name is Alana Kazakovic, and welcome to this free video where you're going to learn my number one tip on how I went from complete chronic fatigue, burnout, to living a life that I am so passionate about, energetic, and living a life that I love. So I'm going to actually step back a few years, about 3 years ago, and share with you my journey from my complete rock bottom, which was basically me crying uncontrollably on the floor at work, because I worked as an accountant, to my journey fully through chronic fatigue, to where I am now, inspiring and teaching others through my kinesiology coaching how you too can have a life of brilliance. So let's go back to the year May 2014, a week before my 30th birthday, where I literally fell into an emotional draining mess. So for a few months prior to that, I have been quite tired and fatigued, and I just started a new extremely busy role in one of the big utility companies here in Melbourne. Now, at the time, I thought that I loved my job. And don't get me wrong, I did actually really enjoy my job. But unfortunately, it isn't the path or the journey or the passionate job that really inspired me. Now, I used to work extremely long hours, and I also travelled quite regularly. So I was always on the go-go. When I was sick, quite often I would work from home. So I had no boundaries when it came to my work. And I was always taking responsibility for everybody else's work. See, I was quite a loving and quite a nurturing kind of employee, where quite often I would want to help everyone in order for them to fulfill and get their work done. But unfortunately, that left me doing a lot of other people's work and taking responsibility for a lot of other things that really wasn't my role. And it left me drained and fatigued. But the thing was, I actually didn't have the power to say no, and I didn't know how to say no at that time. And it was interesting because my personal life was very similar at the same time. I would always be the one that my friends would call me and say, Alana, this is going on. Can you help me? I'm here, I'm stuck. Can you come and pick me up? I'm going here on the weekend. Would you like to come? Regardless of how I was feeling, or if I really wanted to go, guess what I would always say? Yes. So while all this was going on in my life, so I had this busy job that I thought at the time I loved, traveling a lot. I was also dancing. I was a big dancer, and I used to exercise every day because I actually thought that if I didn't exercise every day, I would get fat, or if I didn't exercise every day, then I wasn't healthy. Unfortunately, what I know now, this is certainly not the truth. So I'll just go back to my story, and 10 days, literally 10 days before my 30th birthday, I fell in a complete and utter emotional mess, to the point where I actually hadn't been sleeping for about 5 or 6 weeks prior. You know that 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. wake up call that you will get and you can't go back to sleep? Well, I was having that, but I was also having it from about 1 a.m. in the morning. So I was highly strung. My nervous system was stressed to the max, and I was severely run down in my immune system, and also I had adrenal fatigue. So 2 days before my actual 30th birthday, I left my job at AGL for stress leave, and I actually never went back. Now, it actually took me 2 full years to recover from chronic fatigue and burnout, because I was actually in such an unwell and sick state that it took me 2 years to fully recover. I actually didn't go back to work for about 18 months because when I stopped, I actually didn't realize how sick I actually was and how fatigued and how burnt out I was. So that in itself was a remarkable journey for me. And until I get to my actual hot tip on what brought me out of my chronic fatigue, let's go through my actual journey of my chronic fatigue. So it took me 2 years. I did all of the right things. So I went and did fix my diet. Mind you, I will actually say I had a very healthy diet the whole entire time of my career. I've always eaten quite well. So my diet actually wasn't too bad. The only things I really had to do was increase my protein and eat a little bit more fruit and veg. The second thing or the other things that you do when you're quite sick and have chronic fatigue is you usually go and you get a lot of supplements to help you. So many different supplements. You go and see a lot of health practitioners. So I was seeing a lot of health practitioners. I was seeing my kinesiologist weekly sometimes. I was seeing a naturopath, acupuncture. I was getting massage to help with my nervous system. I was seeing a counselor as well for my emotions, and also my kinesiologist for my emotions. I was doing all the right things. And while I did improve, I actually didn't really pull myself out of my chronic fatigue until I really started listening within and started doing the things that I really wanted to do in my life. So going back to when I was actually 30. So that year when I was turning 30 and I was in this new job and I was actually loving everything I was doing, I actually had this thought that I have had for quite a few years, that I wanted to actually do something in the health industry. For a while, I actually thought it was me being a naturopath, but when I actually started doing kinesiology, and I actually was introduced to kinesiology back about 5 years ago because my chiropractor did applied kinesiology, and I was absolutely fascinated by what he was finding in my body through muscle testing, that I had actually decided that, yes, I'm actually really good at what I do in my accounting and I'm loving my job, but it's not necessarily my passion or the kind of desire of life that I actually want to live. So around my 30th birthday, well, actually that year of my 30th birthday, I actually had already enrolled to study kinesiology part-time. And so it was almost like the universe had said to me, right, Alana, you've decided to do kinesiology. This is what you actually love and you're passionate about, but you're doing way too many things. You can't dance all weekend, have this massive, 60 to 70 hour week doing accounting and doing everything for the organization and being responsible for your role, and study and have this new way of life. And so I fell into a massive mess at 30 years old, because it's almost like the universe said, well, this life no longer serves you. You actually need to start making some choices that is actually going to serve you and give you the energy and the lifestyle that you desire. And so while I was sick and while I was on this chronic fatigue journey, while I was actually getting better, so, I was eating the nourishing foods, I was detoxing, I did juice fasting, I did colonics, I did coffee enemas, all to try and relieve my body of the chronic fatigue, and to build up my immune system, support my adrenals, taking all the herbs and going to bed early and doing all the natural therapies that I was doing. Well, they were all helping, and yes, my energy did improve, and I could see that eventually I'd be going back to work. Are you ready for it? My number one, actually that's two, but my number one tip about my journey and how I really got out of this fatigue stuck state of my life was I actually had to go and do the passionate thing that I'd always wanted to do. So while I was studying, while I was actually sick, I actually continued my studies part-time. what I actually had to do is I had to start my business. I had always said, when I get well, I'll start my business. When I have the energy, I'll start my business. You know, when I can get out of bed and I'm really inspired and, feeling motivated, then I'll start my business. Unfortunately, I did not realize that I would get the energy and the enthusiasm and the passion for my life again when I started my business. Regardless of how I was feeling and regardless of the fear and my thoughts and my belief systems, I had to literally get up out of my bed and start my business. And so my number one tip is basically go and do whatever it is that you want to do in your life. Because when you're really living the life that you love and you're passionate about, that is when you're living your life of brilliance. That is when you get that energy for your life. That is when you wake up in the morning, you jump out of bed and go, I cannot wait to start my day today. Because your work does not feel like work. You can't wait to start getting on your laptop in the morning and writing that blog or whatever it is for your business. You can't wait to literally get going every morning or every night or every day to start doing what it is you love, because you're so passionate, you're inspired, and you're doing what you're loving. And there's nothing more better than doing what you love in life. And I'm actually going to share something. So when I was in grade 4, I always said I'm going to be a teacher. And so being in grade 4, I mean, being a teacher usually means teaching kids. And so I didn't actually realize that perhaps even at this age of 9 or 10, I really, really knew what I wanted to do with my life. But it kind of took me 25 years, actually, I can't count, 20 or odd so years for me to figure out what teaching meant. And for me, it means teaching guys, teaching all you people out there how you can have your own life of brilliance, teaching you about health and well-being, and how if you're feeling stuck, how we can get you out of that place to living the life and making the choices that you really want to make in your life. And so I also want to share with you a client story of mine. So I have a client at the moment. Now, I'm not going to say his name, but he's feeling so stuck and stagnant, and he has also got fatigue and burnout, and he's also got some digestive issues. Now, quite often we have digestive issues when we have or doing things in our life that don't serve us. Quite often, for instance, as an example, like constipation is us not letting go of things in our life that no longer serve us. We're holding them in. So literally the body, the physical body, is doing the same thing. Now, this client of mine, he runs his own successful business. He works with quite a few successful businesses because he does some consulting type of work. But it leaves him drained, depleted, and stressed. And he feels powerless and stuck. And so at the moment, we're working on, okay, so what's really going on for you? Diving in, finding out the root cause of what is really in behind his belief systems, and looking at what it is that he actually really wants to do with his life. So he actually really wants to travel. Have a life where he gets to travel. And also, he also one day wants to open up this beautiful community kind of cafe educational center. But at the moment, his fatigue, and he's only just realizing this through our sessions, his fatigue is from his inability to make change and make the choices for him to actually do what he desires in his life. And so he's starting to finally feel more energetic and motivated and inspired because he's actually starting to make the baby little steps towards the life that he actually desires and to feel those dreams that he's always had. And he's having remarkable results. Again, his fatigue's reducing, his digestive issues are better, all simply by getting in, finding out the root cause of what's going on, which is what kinesiology does. It taps into your subconscious mind and really dives in and finds out all the nuts and bolts about what's stopping you, what's holding you back from making the decisions or the choices to live this life that you really want to live. Whether that's, in a change of career, in a change of, relationship, or, it could be a health issue. What's really keeping you the way you are, and finding out what is really going on, and then giving you the choice and the awareness so that you can actually make the choices to move forward in your life. And so I actually want to ask you guys some questions about, have you actually taken some time out to think about what in your life is actually causing you to feel drained? Do you actually know what it is that you desire in your life, or do you actually know what it is that you want in your life? Have you taken the time to, feel in, listen to your body and look at what's causing this heaviness that you're potentially feeling? What's causing potentially this anxiety? Why are you not sleeping? What's causing you to wake at 3 a.m.? Possibly you share something similar to what I did back, 3 years ago when I was working in corporate. Not knowing that this isn't actually normal. We're not supposed to wake up at 3 a.m. full of thought. We're supposed to get a constant 7 hours sleep. The body actually needs a constant 7 hours sleep in order to heal and function optimally. Have you thought about things like, is there a person or a situation in your life that's causing you a lot of stress? Or when you're with this person, it doesn't make you feel energetic. It actually makes you feel quite heavy, but not actually realizing this. So, and the other thing I want you to think about is, what is it costing you? What is it really costing you for feeling or being in this stuck state, or this fatigued and heavy state? What's it costing you in relation to your business? What's it costing you in relation to your career, in relation to your health? Are you letting your passions and your dreams dwindle away? You may not have even thought of some of these questions or answered any of some of these questions for yourself. So what I suggest today is, I want you to really start thinking about some of these things, and start thinking about some of the areas in your life where perhaps you are feeling overwhelmed. Perhaps you are feeling drained. Perhaps you have chronic fatigue and you have no idea how you're going to get yourself out of it, or why you're feeling chronic fatigue, and why it's been hanging around so long. And I want you to stop wasting time. I don't want you to spend 2 years like I did, going to every health seminar, reading every self-help book. Mind you, I do enjoy doing all of these things. But, saving that time, with trying the diets and the supplements, and getting to the root cause of what's really going on and why you're feeling this way, because you could be similar. It could be just because you're not following your dreams and your passions like you should be. So what I suggest is, I want you to book in for a 30-minute complimentary Burnout to Brilliance session with me, and let's really dive in to your story. Let's really dive into what's going on for you in your life at the moment that's keeping you from living your life of brilliance, and letting you have some awareness about what really are your choices in your life, and perhaps what is holding you back from doing exactly what you want in your life, and living those desires and having that life that's really fulfilling for you. So the outcomes of your 30-minute complimentary session will basically be to uncover what it is you desire in your life. You might also have a childhood dream, or you have a dream that you've always wanted to pursue. Let's uncover exactly what that is, and let's plan how we can make it happen. I want you to think about, what does your life of brilliance look like? And what would your life of brilliance be? So let me help you plan and achieve this life of brilliance for yourself. I don't want you to get to 30, or if you're older, and feel like you're stuck in a career or in a life or a lifestyle that no longer serves you. You always have a choice to make the changes that you want in your life so that you too can have this life of passion, this life of motivation, this lifestyle of all the things you've desired in yourself. And this lifestyle of going from feeling completely stuck and overwhelmed and completely potentially burnt out to this absolutely lovely life of brilliance. So act now, book a session now, and I look forward to helping you plan this life of brilliance that you've always wanted to live.